Welcome to the Amy Is Show. On today's episode, I'm so excited for this guest, Shamina Taylor. She's an attorney turned wealth expert, business mentor, author, and keynote speaker. Today, she helps high-achieving women level up their personal lives and in their businesses by teaching them how to become the most powerful, fulfilled, wealthy, and successful versions of themselves. She's got over 20 years of experience. Shamina is a top industry leader and has helped hundreds of women build their businesses both on and offline. Her top clients are making $400,000 plus a month in recurring revenue and have crossed the $1 million mark in their businesses. She is also known for working with high-profile Grammy Award-winning celebrities and bringing them the most expansive results through mentorship and programs. Shamina herself has had a record-breaking year. Her businesses have crossed $1 million in 10 months. She's also a recipient of the 2021 Two Comma Club Award winner for earning over $1 million with ClickFunnels. I'm so excited for you guys to listen to today's episode and learn more about how you can clear away your negative energy and bring abundance and wealth into your life and reach your crazy pie in the sky goals. Shamina Taylor, welcome to the show. So as you know, we've talked about this a lot. That my show is really designed around helping military veterans. And it really struck a chord with me when we met, because not only are you radiating all of the things that I need personally in my life, but you have so many skill sets with the coaching that you do, the incredible knowledge around just like healing trauma and reconstructing your thoughts and your mind, that I want to share some of your gifts of knowledge with our military veteran community to help them in their transition. My show, as you know, is designed around helping military vets as they leave, because it's such a big leap. When they leave the military, they go from these structured environments where they know what they're going to wear, they know where they're going to be, they know what they're going to be doing, who they're going to be doing it with, what they're going to have for lunch, they know all their hit times, everything. And then when that's removed and they leave and they go into the civilian life, for a lot of people, especially like me, I was 17 when I joined the military. And when I left, I was 32 at the time. And so all I knew was structure. And then leaving, that big net is gone. The safety net is gone. And so you have to start from ground zero. You have to completely rebuild your life and your ideology, your structures, everything. And I when I met you, I was like, oh my gosh, everything that comes out of your mouth is gold. And you have so much wisdom to share, especially around like such a critical topic, finances, affirmations, law of attraction, healing trauma. Like these are like amazing topics that you cover. Obviously, you got this incredible book here that people can pick up. You have your own content that you put out daily. I mean, like there's a bunch of really cool stuff going on. So I just want to start by tapping into some of the wisdom you can share to our veterans that, financially speaking, you know, they're going from these paychecks, which are all published, you know, they don't make a ton of money, but all of them that leave the military have such great potential. They've got the discipline, they have the skill set in terms of taking direction, following orders, and, you know, setting themselves up for that, to be able to chase that path, like to financially get themselves right. If somebody's starting at zero, I just want to start the conversation off here by like, what would you suggest to them financially? Like where should they even, like pie in the sky, white paper here, what should a military veteran do as they're leaving the military?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for your service and everything that you've done, and everyone else that's listening. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All of us do. I would just design what kind of life you want next. Like the first thing, I would get a white piece of paper and a pen, not even like writing it on a computer, and just write out what do you want the next chapter of your life to look like? You know, when you entered the military, maybe that was a decision that maybe you thought was the right way to go, the path to go at that moment in time. Or maybe you didn't feel like you had a decision, or there wasn't a future, but this was a future for you. Now you have a chance to create another future for yourself. And what does that look like? Because you're extracting all of those amazing skill sets that you learned that honestly, majority of society doesn't have. Like, I wouldn't call you lazy at all. You're disciplined. You're coachable. You follow orders. You can fight the fight. And so I would sit down and really design this chapter of your life and go as big as you can. Like, you know, what does it look like? And without looking at the parameters of what's happening in your life, sit there. So that would be number one. And then I would write down, what are the obstacles, you know, and if you think it's time, or if you think it's money, or if you think it's because you don't have a skill set, okay, look at those things. And then next, I would just immerse yourself in self-development, you know, listening to a podcast like this or to others that can expand your framework of how you see things and your mindset, because at the end of the day, that's really our biggest block, is like how we're thinking, of what we can require in our reality. And for many of you that are listening, and for you know that you can push your body to extreme measures. Like, it doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if you are feeling that pain, you'll push through. So I would also invite them to start looking into deeper healing if they haven't touched it yet. There's a reason why you probably went there, and while you were there, you were in survival mode.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that's not a mode that we want to or need to be in, any of us in this world anymore. And the more that you can take yourself out of survival mode into a thriving mode, you then can go create whatever you write down on that piece of paper.
Oh my gosh, I love this for so many reasons. I'm going to be so selfish for a minute. It's why I clicked with you right away when I met you, because I was like, teach me your ways, Jedi. Like, my master, please. I definitely live today. It's actually something I'm actively trying to unpack, the survival mode. I love that you called that out, because you hit the nail on the head. I literally spend every day in survival mode. Anxiety and just like the way I operate, the way I communicate, like it comes across. You picked it up when we first met. Like, you read me like basically my personality type, and that I clearly have some work to do, and like all these things. And I was like, girl, yeah, let's go have a conversation. And so I want to unpack survival mode, but also I just kind of want to route back to the first thing you said about white papering your life. I just sat down and did this recently. Because I got some other great advice from a couple other people in my circle, where I'm like, I don't even know what I want. Right? Like, that's a great place to start. So thank you for calling that out. Like, I love the sitting down, even if like a lot of people now are so digital, like make a Canva board, right? Or if you are some hands-on, preference, you have the hands-on preference to like cut things out of magazines and
Absolutely.
like do it on like a big piece of paper, like a vision board or whatever. I loved that exercise for myself, because it really made me pause and be like, wait, what do I want? Where do I want to spend my time and energy? What's my end goal? So I love those two things. So getting into the survival mode thing, I know you've shared, at least with me, and I think on a lot of the episodes I've watched, that you have some pretty big things that you've overcome to like even get you in this state where you're not just one of the coaches out there that is speaking not from a place of experience. You've been through it, and you've learned things the hard way. So knowing I'm personally in survival mode right now, I just talk to me like a friend here. Like, how do I get out of survival mode? I'm literally asking genuinely, like, I'm in it right now.
Yeah, it's our default mode for most of us.
Yeah.
And especially when you're running from trauma, that's usually the other thing that's fueling you, is the survival mode. And this is where most single moms or people who have been through an extreme traumatic experience in their life, they learn how to revert back into survival. So we have dysregulated nervous systems. This is where the anxiety comes from. Sleepless nights, not being able to sleep right through, eating disorders, or using certain substances just to function because, like just 2 glasses of wine, or, have a little joint here and there, smoke something, which everybody has their drug or whatever they're doing just to cope into their human. Survival mode makes you be doing a lot, scheduled out, constantly moving, because being still with who you are is scary.
It is.
To actually be alone with yourself, alone with your thoughts, alone with the emotions that you're fighting so hard not to feel. And so we try to get out of our bodies the best way we can. So, for example, someone who has experienced, a brutal beating like I did, younger, or rape or whatnot, the thought of being in her body or being in your body, it's so traumatic, because your cells and your nervous system remembers everything. So all it's trying to do is keep you from that imminent danger again. So you're constantly on alert. It's like, you touch a stove once and you know it's hot,
Yeah.
you know not to do it again. It's the same thing your nervous system is on. Like, nope, we're not going to go here. We're not going to go here. And then you get that shield up to protect yourself, because, that's where you get the ice queen, or, that person, they're so nice, but you can't feel them. Or they're like,
Yeah.
what's wrong? And that's who I was. And I'd been in survival mode since I was, my teenage years, because I didn't know another way. So when we're doing it, we put ourselves last. We become people pleasers, not not in the sense that you think that you would realize that you are, but you're constantly navigating other people's emotions so you don't upset them, in a sense, because you don't want to have conflict, because you want to deal with it. So you're controlling your environment. So that's exhausting in itself right there.
I think one of the attributes you said when you were calling me out in such a good way, you're like, you're probably like an empath.
Of course.
And I like have done some research since our conversation, because I'm like, she has me pegged, man. Like, she just like read my entire thing off. But you're so right. Like, when you're so used to having to know what's coming into your environment, and like, are they going to be mad? Are they going to be angry? Like, are they going to be like, you're like constantly looking at other people and trying to
feeling them.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're like assessing them by what, because even though you probably are not as connected to your emotions as deeply as you want to be, it's like a default method to, control the environment around you so that you can function in it, so you can have peace.
Yeah. That's
what people pleasing is. Like, I want to make sure that I don't upset you to the point that I have to deal with your emotions too, because I'm still working on mine over here, Mm-hmm. And this is where perfectionism comes in. I'm not perfect. Then worthiness wound comes in. You're constantly working overtime just so you can feel some sense of peace, but their peace never comes.
Yeah.
And it's a process and a journey. But being in survival mode, I didn't even realize that I was in it until I was out of it. And then I realized, okay, I sometimes go back into the let's go do so much and I have to catch myself. This is why I have a saying, I wake up when I'm done sleeping now, instead of waking up at the 5 a.m. crack of dawn and having to be so regiment with the way my life is. I have more flow in it. And when you're an empath, if you actually let that lead and you tune into that, you'll start feeling in a different way. You won't need all the things to calm down your nervous system. But one of the things that I did that really helped me is I learned a method called TRE, and it's a trauma release method. And the guy that taught it to me, he worked with a lot of veterans.
Oh,
and it's like not talk therapy. It's just doing some exercises, and I can give you maybe a link afterwards you can put into the show.
Oh, I'd love to.
It's on YouTube. You can follow it, where your psoas muscles in your hips. It holds all your emotions. So when you're able to do some of these exercises, you're actually releasing the emotions from your body that's stuck in there. I have done every single healing modality you could possibly think of to get my body not to be so dysregulated. It's just been constant over, and we talked about this, drinking IR, doing one thing after another. But the thing that I really realized that was pinnacle for me was mastering my emotions and being able to identify what I was feeling, mastering my triggers. Why did I get upset? Why was I having an emotional response to something? And then I could go deeper and find out the root of where it was coming from.
I feel like that's where I'm at right now. I've been doing a lot of work, self-help books, podcasts, talking to a pseudo therapist. I'm going down the plant medicine route right now. I'm doing a lot of different work, and first, I just have to acknowledge, like when you said the hip thing, like storing emotion in your hips, I literally click every time I get up or sit down. I'm like, that's probably what I need. So I'm gonna definitely go test out this like hip therapy thing. But where I'm at right now is just I've noticed such a built up angst around a lot of my emotions. Like they're definitely not regulated appropriately, and I find myself in moments at a stage where I'm just reacting versus like being thoughtful about how I'm reacting. It's okay to obviously feel the emotion I feel, but like to where it's like out of control. So that's where I'm at right now, is trying to unpack, why am I having these extreme feelings? And I know this is so true for a lot of the military veteran community that I talk to, where they just get to this point where like I interviewed Dean Stott recently, who's a military veteran from the British Army, and he said he dropped an egg in the kitchen once and he just started crying. This is like a very macho man. Like he's been all over the world and these incredible things, and it's like you would never expect that from him. And a lot of military veterans just get to that point where it's like they can't even deal with like something breaking or something dropping or something not going just smoothly. It just like they lose control of their emotions. Yeah. And so that's where I'm at. How did you get past that?
So that I learned what triggered me. I had to figure out what the triggers were. Why? Because obviously it wasn't breaking the egg for him.
Yeah.
It was maybe he really wanted that egg so badly that day, and it was so much disappointment or so much expectation. Maybe it was the last egg. Who knows what it was? But I kept finding what were the triggers. So I created this trigger system where I tell my clients to get a book, a journal, because journaling is like literally saved my life. It was one of the things that really helped me. But I say, take a journal for a week and write down, instead of reacting to people, why don't you just take a journal, write down the emotion that's happening. Like, did this person piss you off? Like, why did they piss you off? And like literally write down all the things that you were feeling in that moment, like the anger and, the rage that was coming out. Instead of directing it to somebody, put it right in your journal and track it for a week. And I've got clients that are still tracking it for 2 years.
Wow.
Like just still working on a pattern and breaking it because their trauma was really much deeper, but at least it helps them not be so reactive and they can be responsive and decide how they want to respond. So when you start tracking it, then you can see the patterns surfacing. Okay, this seems to happen when someone says this about me, or when this happens, I keep having the same similar response. Okay. And then you can start saying, okay, where did this story come from? And it's always going back to our childhood, most of the time. Or, up until 25, we probably were doing things that were compounded since, a young child and going over and over and over again. So if we can go back to one of those core memories, then we can rewire what that core memory was so that we no longer have that same potency over the trigger. And then the trigger can then move. Because if you think about everything in energy and you think about the emotions that you have stored inside of you that do bring the rage up, they are unsettled, unhealed emotions that didn't get, like you said, I get to feel on my emotions. You know that now. But back then, the emotions that if an incident happened, the emotion gets stopped because don't feel it. It gets locked in your body. And then where does it stay every day? It stays here until someone hits it and touches it again and again. And so it just keeps repeating until it gets transmuted all the way. Yeah. Until it gets, transmuted all the way out. And so the only way sometimes to do it is to go back to the root. And sometimes people, it's so traumatic, you can't go back to it. So plant medicine helps you, or, there's other coping mechanisms like breath work or meditation that can help with, it's stages. It's not trying to like cure everything all at once. It's like it's surrendering in the moments that you're ready for it, because it can be overwhelming and you need to do it with somebody who is skilled or you feel safe with allowing yourself to feel all that stuff through, because it's your adult self trying to, process all those emotions. And so when I started doing this work, it was little by little. I was peeling back the layers. And it seemed like after I healed one thing, it was like, oh, shoot, this other thing would pop up again. And I'm like, I thought I dealt with that emotion. I thought that was there. But as it started unraveling, and as my relationships with people, with money, with men, with my children, because your children are like one of your biggest triggers ever. If you have children, you know what I'm talking about. And because you have to love them no matter what.
Yeah. And put on a face too, you have to act like everything's okay and you're all right. Which I've done with my 15-year-old. My 15-year-old son, I could be really going through it mentally. And then I have to remember, oh, I've got to wipe my face, stop crying. He can't see me like this. I have to show up for him 100%. Everything's fine. Everything's great, which adds to the pressure of, what you're going through already. If you're already mentally struggling, like then having to pretend like you're okay. It's like showing up to work, going to a friend's social event, whatever. You have to act like everything's okay. It just makes it worse.
Yeah. That's why the showers were great for crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like really. But then I also, my kids they won't ever know the experience of what I've gone through until they've read my book or they've gone through my, they've really watched the discovery. But I went and I lived and I let the experiences teach me. And I also tried to be more self-accountable, because when we don't heal our trauma, we stay in our victimness. And when we stay in our victimness, we are in scarcity mindset. And when we're in scarcity mindset, we push all the abundance and wealth away from us. So it is a process of learning how to let the moments that we were victimized not become a continuous story of being in a victim mindset and scarcity mindset as we go through life. So once I figured out the connection between the two, it was life-changing. So I made it my job to really go in and remove any beliefs or emotions that were making me feel like I didn't have control over who I was.
Wow, powerful. One of the things I've realized just after meeting you, actually, and I was talking with some other very similar people that have kind of the coach programs and everything. I've always had a really hard time with talk therapy for a lot of different reasons. Like I tried it through the VA and it was not successful for me for a lot of different reasons. The turnover, the ability to get appointments, et cetera. I just didn't have a good experience with it. But what I have realized is just like the critical need for me to have a coach, because someone that's been through trauma, that's overcome, that can help you unpack. It's a little bit of a different dynamic than working with like a therapist. But for me, and I just want to be clear, if you are in talk therapy or need talk therapy, go get that talk therapy. But for me in particularly, I've found much more success from my dynamic, the way I work, my time, all of that, working with a coach. And you offer coaching services. So I know you come from just a really well-positioned place for some of the feedback and thoughts that I'm curious about, because I think it's really great when you work with a coach to kind of share like how you're feeling, what you're doing, and get some of these tidbits and tips to unpack like where you're blocked. Because I know I've been blocked in a lot of different places, like the scarcity mindset. I didn't even understand what that was until I talked with a coach. Therapists didn't help me with that. In particular, like a coach was like, well, hold on, you're blocked over here. And being able to even understand what that meant. I know I've lived, especially from, being in survival mode. I feel like I'm currently in that scarcity mindset in a couple of different areas. Finances is definitely one of them, right? Also in structuring like my circle, like who I'm around, where am I spending my energy? What am I aligning with? My thoughts, like the thoughts was a key thing for me to unpack and realize like, oh my gosh, I'm constantly ruminating on negative things that don't serve me. And so I would love if you could just share a little bit about, that in terms of like clearing past some of those roadblocks, and maybe lean in more of what for our audience that has never even heard of scarcity mindset, because I had not until very recently. Like, what is that? And what are some tips to get rid of that scarcity mindset?
Sure. And no shame in it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just where we are in our journey. And, I didn't even realize scarcity can even look like this. Hey girl, where you get your shoes from? And then you go, oh, I don't know. But you know damn well where you got your shoes from, but you just don't want to tell somebody because you don't want to share. And them also having the same, abundance or attention or whatever it is. I remember a woman asked me once, I had these cute little fuzzy boots on that I asked another woman where I got them from. She was willing to share. But when people asked me, I was like, oh, I don't remember. And because I didn't want her to look as cute as me. And I remember having that. It's because I couldn't have the mindset, you can also be as great as me. And so competition lies in there.
And a lot of military vets are very competitive.
And resentment will come in. And so I started seeing, first of all, for myself, it's just the truth phase. Where can you start seeing that you have maybe jealousy or you don't feel like it can be for you too? Mm-hmm. So scarcity is like, if we look at negative and positive mindset, and I'm not saying to bypass anything and always be positive because that doesn't work either. But where are you looking at the glass half empty? Like start there. I see the glass overflowing right now, not even half empty or half full. But maybe when you're starting, where are you seeing it half empty? And where are you seeing it like, it's not possible for you, that it's unfair. Like unfairness seems to be the thread that weaves all through scarcity. What's unfair? You have that. It's unfair I got divorced. It's unfair you get this, because they don't think it's possible for them. So when you can start really realizing and having some awareness of like what you truly believe, because if you ruminate over situations, it's because you care what people think still, or and you're like, they're not going to like me because I said this, or you said something out of your own truth. And then you sit there like, talking with 10 different friends, like, did I say the right thing? It was okay. And when you get to a place of abundance, it's your most authentic self. It's like you take the mask off. It's like, this is who I am, like me or leave me, but not in a place of this is who I am, like me or leave me. I don't give a shit what people think about me. It's more of like, I did so much work to become this human that I wanted to be here. And why is that so important? Because then you can go for big dreams and not be like, well, who am I to say I want these big things in my life? Like, who are you not? And so start with looking at the list of, I had to do this so much to get into a prosperity mindset. I would write down all of the negative thoughts I was having. And then I would look at them and be like, what would be an alternative abundance mindset to think? Okay, look at my bank account. My bank account's negative. All right, but what can I find out? What positive thing can I come in? All right, I actually have money in my bank account, or my money is coming, or one day it will change, or find something about your situation that will start making you feel like there's an abundance that could come in. Okay, I look at someone, I'm like, well, she's so tall, she's so pretty. Well, what's so special about me? Find the things that are you like about who you are instead of comparing yourself to somebody else. And you have to do it step by step. It can't be overwhelming because you can't take it on all at once.
You know what you just did recently on your Instagram where I was like, I got to try that. It was just such it articulates your point right now. You were holding $10,000 cash. And I think in the caption, you wrote something like, I imagined one day what it might be like to hold $10,000 cash. And then here you are holding $10,000 cash. It's like you called this into your existence. But I think for me, it just articulates the point of like, you said basically what is on one side of the sheet of paper, what are the negative thoughts, write them out. And on the other side of this sheet of paper, what is the exact opposite of that, right? Like, I care about my appearance because I don't feel pretty. Well, on this side of the piece of paper, I'm beautiful.
Exactly.
Or on this side of the piece of paper, my bank account has $100 and I don't have enough money to pay rent. Where on this side of the sheet of paper, I have $10,000 and I can pay rent no problem.
Right.
So I love that exercise. Have you found that helpful in your practice?
Way back when I was starting out, because I didn't even know I had a scarcity mindset. I didn't even know the trauma was feeding me. I had no idea. But because I wanted to do everything myself, I couldn't ask for help. I had a hard time having support. I couldn't receive. Receiving was like someone told me I was pretty, I would just be like, whatever, of course. Like
I do
this
that.
whole thing. I know, because you can't receive. And receiving is like the major equation for having more. But I'll tell you, just break it down really quickly. Like receiving was me being vulnerable, and vulnerable was a weakness. And so I'm not going to let you come over here and tell me I'm pretty. Like, no, or if someone wants to hold the door open for me, I'm like, I got it, or can I carry your groceries? And hell no, I'm carrying all these bags, and I couldn't accept help because I'd been survival mode for so long. I did everything myself, and being a single mom, that's just like another check, like big check for being survival mode, So I had to learn to receive. This is why I take my team members everywhere I go, because I can receive support. I have a big team now. Before I couldn't. I was like, I'm going to do everything on my own, because then nobody has control over me. Nobody has a say in my life. Nobody can tell me what to do. I don't owe anybody anything. Owing somebody would felt like that was the worst thing, because then you don't have anything on me.
Yeah. When I talk to you, I literally am like, I have so much work to do on myself. I do, because I literally the first time I met you, it would have made everyone listening to the show right now laugh so hard, because you literally, like, we had just met, and I think you literally were like, you're pretty, and I was like, oh, thanks, or something like awkward, and you're like, it's okay to receive the compliment. Like, you read me my rights, and I appreciate that so much, because one, you were just so real and authentic, but two, it just showed me like, oh my gosh, like I truly do have so much work to do, because I just, like everything you mentioned, receiving support, asking for help. I don't want to feel like I have to owe anyone anything, and I'm fiercely independent. But as we've already talked a little bit about in the show, that comes from such a place of survival mode, and it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to, expand your resources by connecting with others and creating community and asking for community, and everything you need is available if you just ask for it. So
it really is. Yeah. And well, the reason why most women, I don't know if your audience is men and women, but even men can identify with this too, but you're in your hyper masculine state, which is, you came out of the military too. You were already conditioned there, but just the trauma puts us in the hypermasculine state. And, relying on anybody else that's just the worst, that's the worst thing possible. Yeah. So this is what drives most high achieving people, is the wounded masculine, or the unhealthy masculine in them, because I'm going to go out there and show the world that I could do whatever without their help. And it's seeking validation so that you can feel fulfillment or feel like you're good enough, because we have 3 core wounds. And if you do any research with me, you'll see it's unworthiness, betrayal, and abandonment. And those wounds literally fuel us into success. This is why nothing ever feels like it's good enough. We always feel like it's, okay, what's next? What am I going to do next? What's next? The achievement, I checked that off the list. I can do more. I can do more. And we're always chasing something instead of literally being in our beingness to relax and enjoy what we've already created. It's never good enough, because unworthiness fueled me forever. Yeah. It was one of the things that I never felt good enough to be at that next level. It's like, even though I knew it was there, but I was always chasing it until I figured out, well, it's because I never felt safe in my own body. I didn't feel that sense of safety, because I didn't have that as a child. With our kids, the thing that they look for is, and as us as children, is to be told we're okay. And keep reaffirming that we're going to be okay until we can understand that on our own. And for many of us have had that level of trauma, we don't know it's going to be okay. So we're in fight or flight all the time. When we did that exercise at the dinner party, people were asking about what would you do in an alleyway when, someone came in, and many of you military said, well, we would hide. And I said, I would ask Like, who is it? What are you there? Who's there? Because I'm ready to face whatever's coming my way because I've done so much work. But the way that we've done life before was to run from our shit, and not have to deal with it because it was easier to do that, to stuff it down and push it away.
Yeah, I think some of that rings a bell for procrastination. Like in it, that's obviously like a trauma response.
Totally.
Is to procrastinate and to like, oh, it seems like too big of a task to deal with right now. I'm going to put it away for later. And then of course you never actually deal with it. Comes through with things like doing taxes, paying your bills on time. I mean, just little things like that are actually simple, but in people's minds that are so bogged down by trauma and just it's an unhealed response to just procrastinate and say, I'll do it later. And then things pile up and it just creates a bigger problem. So, if someone's kind of in that mode, do you have any suggestions for people that are, in that kind of frozen procrastination state?
Start doing something small that you can get done within 5 minutes. Like, it's like going to the gym. You're just going to keep working that muscle till you realize, like, why did I put that off for so long? And the more that you can start doing that, then you'll start getting those dopamine hits, which way it comes, you'll start feeling like, gosh, I got so much done right now.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
So just don't take on the whole list. I actually used to do a three things on a list day because I also experienced that. So I'm like, what are 3 things I actually can get done today? I had my big master list, but then I had my 3 things I can get done in a day. And then I gave myself a time limit when I was going to get it done, and once I started getting those 3 things done, then I would add a couple more things to the list the next day. And then I increase it as I went along, what I could take. But when people make those, because you're high achievers, like, I'm going to get it all done. I got 95 things on this list and it's all going to get done. But when you look at that list, it's so overwhelming. It's better to just throw the whole list away and do nothing. So just pick, maybe it's 2, maybe it's just 1 thing, that you're going to get done for the day, that once you get that 1 thing done, success happened. And then you start feeling that feeling of, okay, I'm progressing into the right direction. It's like anything with life. You want to start a business, you want to start making money. I feel like your past does not predict what your future is. You have the chance and the opportunity to change the scope of it. And I can say, if I can do it, everybody can, but I can't really say that, because I believe that if you can see someone else doing it and you can see yourself in that person, then you can do it. But many people, they're so stuck in the past that they let it steal from the present and the future of what's happened. And
that 4-minute mile rule where it's like I'm going to butcher this, so forgive me in the comments later, but there was a marathon or something where nobody could break that, not marathon, sorry, but there's like a 4-minute mile. There was a mile marker where no one had broken the 4-minute mile speed time in running ever. And then one day somebody did. And then within a really short period of time right after, a bunch more people broke the 4-minute mile, but it had like never been done. And it just makes me think about that like if you can visualize it and you can see yourself doing it and you can actually like feel and embody like doing it, you can overcome it and you can achieve it.
That's a recipe, what you just said there. But the more that you get in touch with your emotions, then the vision will come to you quicker, but you have to have something to go towards.
Yeah.
That's why the white paper is really important. And, money is something that people feel like that is going to completely change their lives. Yes, it can. But if you can change your life and your emotions and your mindset, I believe the money will come.
Yeah.
Because most of our relationships with the wealth and the success or what's out there, it can all get created within self, because you'll see people who make a lot of money and they're still unhappy.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're more unhappy than they were before. They're like, I remember when we didn't have any money and I was just happy and I didn't have any worries, because the money doesn't change you. So do this work first. And then whatever you go to pursue is going to be like, just lit up.
So what I'm getting so far is starting from ground zero here. We're grabbing a piece of paper. We're writing down our list of goals. We're grabbing another piece of paper.
Can I back up?
Yeah.
Instead of goals, like make it a dream vision, because goal is like a mental thing. It's like, it's more, but it's dream vision. It's like your soul. It's like, you can't explain why you want it, but you just want it. And a lot of people push those things aside because it doesn't make sense in the head.
Okay.
But what if it's just from your heart? Like, what do you truly, truly want to achieve in this, from now until the day you die? What is it that you want?
So
not just because.
In our vision board, we're doing like big ideas. So like things that like, if
don't make sense.
If I could have anything I want, money is no object.
Yes. Delulu stuff.
Yeah. Delulu. Oh, I love living in the delusional. Yeah. Let's do that. That's a good exercise. Okay. So step 1, be delusional.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
In a great way.
Great way.
And then number 2, for the immediate things, for us procrastinators out there that have some things we need to clean up baggage wise that are holding us back, we're going to make a to-do list.
Make the biggest to-do list you've ever seen.
Okay.
And then what I would do is pick the ones that you can delegate to other people, like move those over into another spot, because that's really important. Then next I would, have a framework. Maybe you're only going to pick 3 each day to get them done. Like when I first started, I want to write a book. I want to do a podcast, like those big list things. Figure out what the plan is for that. Maybe you can take 1 step every single day towards the, execution of it. Now, maybe it's like cleaning up your house and like going around, okay, pick 1 room that you're going to clean, that week, not even that day, but that week. Give yourself that task. Make them so bite-sized that you can actually execute them and get them done. And then if you didn't get it done that day, which most people like that are in survival mode, they'll like push themselves to the limits to just make sure they can get that check off the list. What if you just decide, I got as far as I was today, I'm going to be okay with it.
There's so much power in that too. Even recently, this is a brand new skill set for me, prioritizing. Like I have a fat to-do list, but like I've gone through now and I'm like, okay, what are the due dates on this? And like, what's actually a priority, even if there's competing due dates, and making sure that at the end of the day, like I don't feel, because I'm so competitive, like I don't feel like a failure in myself for not getting the whole list done. And because here's the thing, like you're never going to be done. It's going to be something new. A new task is going to pop up, a new bill you have.
It should come up.
Right. That's abundance, right? That's abundance. And so that's a new skill set and a new mindset for me, is just understanding it's okay if you don't get it all done at once.
It's okay. And that gets you right out of exhaustion, because that feeds into survival mode, because you're like, I'm going to just keep going till it's all done. And then who is grading you? Like, who are you doing this for? What are you feeding inside of yourself that can't say, you know what, today you can take a day off? One of the biggest things that I have with most of the high performing women and high achievers that I work with is they don't know how to chill.
Yeah.
Like they feel guilty about just taking some time off because they're so programmed to do that just being still. But maybe that's when the most creativity comes in. The more money you make is when you chill. Like so many ideas will come in and your system gets relaxed so you can go perform more. But so many people don't take that time off. So include that in there somehow.
That's so smart. And I work with Tom Bilyeu. And for those of you that don't know who Tom Bilyeu is, he's like a big mindset education content guy. And he will literally tell our entire staff, like, if you're overwhelmed, I don't understand it. Like, you should never be overwhelmed. And when he first started saying that, I was like, you are crazy. And like, how could you possibly, like, you're so out of touch, right? Like, I'm saying all these things and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I am overwhelmed. I'm like at a level 10 overwhelmed. I'm going nuts over here. I have so much work to do. He's like, no, he's like, I'm not overwhelmed. I own this company. I'm the CEO. Like, who at this business do you think should be overwhelmed? And I'm like, well, of course you. I'm never overwhelmed is what he said. I'm never overwhelmed. And so I'm like, teach me your ways. And that's exactly where I got that from. It's a very new skill for me, where he's just like, literally make a list. If it doesn't, hit the top priority list, it goes below, and you don't even think about that stuff until you're done with this top list. And when I started practicing that, because I'm a very living in survival mode, like very
high functioning.
Yeah, high functioning, but definitely like feeling like I'm level 10 all the time, and other people feel that of me, which I hated. Like, I don't want people to feel my angst or anything.
I just heard of that in my head. Yeah.
Yeah. And so doing that exercise, which I do daily in the morning, I'll just literally go through my list, what's actually your priority today, and everything else can wait. Being comfortable now saying, sorry, I don't have time for that today.
Yeah.
Get on my schedule, right? Like, those are new things for me, because I'm definitely people pleaser. I want to get it all done. I want to try to stuff it in, right? Make it fit, make it work. But the prioritization exercise has been so freeing for me. So that's a new skill. So I hope you guys at home, I hope you take that home as something to actually action on today. All right. So we got our to-do list. We've got our vision board. Get a coach. That's my
some mentorship or community.
Yeah, or community.
Yeah.
And, I would love to spend a little bit more time talking about money specifically, because obviously that's like, one, everyone's favorite topic, but two, like that seems to be the theme for especially military veterans going into their new environments where they don't have the guaranteed paycheck. Maybe they haven't secured a new job, et cetera. I really want to give some more tips and tricks around finances. And I know you are just the gal to give them. So let's tap in there.
First things first, there's money everywhere. I mean, if you can start shifting your mindset to believing that it's not running out and it's not scarce, and that the only way you can make money was not through the military or through what you thought, and all money's money. So it doesn't matter where it's coming from, just be appreciative of it. If you can start putting yourself into that state of being, knowing that it exists, then we can go from there. Because many of the times people think that because they only made money from one avenue, that was it. It was a be all end all. So what am I going to do next? But what if that there's so much more money coming for you and you don't even realize it, but you just limiting yourself thinking that the military or wherever, the past job or that past, company was the only way that the money was going to come in. So first of all, think that. Now, as I said earlier, like about the core wounds, I literally can go in someone's life, their business, and see which one is prevalent, abandonment, betrayal, or unworthiness, and find out what your real money beliefs are. Like, I feel like strategy is amazing, but if you have certain belief systems about money being a shortage, rich people are bad, money's evil, or any of those beliefs, they're going to show up in your life. If someone's ever left you, like an abandonment wound, money's going to come and leave you too. If someone's ever betrayed you, money will betray you too. If you don't feel worthy of having more money because you felt you've been unworthy, you have an unworthiness issue, it's going to show up everywhere. So I would find out, what are your current money beliefs, and then work on changing them. Like, do you really want to believe that money's running out? Do you really want to believe that money's evil? Good people have money and not so great people have money. So it's whatever meaning you're assigning to it is what it's going to show up in your life. So if you first can think that it's in abundance and it's everywhere, then go with that. But imagine if you can't think that yet, find out why. Why don't you think there's money is in abundance? Because of what the world's telling you, what society's telling you, what your mother told you, what your father told you, what your past experiences were, because they came and they went out, you had bankruptcy, or you didn't have enough to purchase something, money was controlling all your behavioral, decisions. Okay, well, let's start with that first, because awareness is key for everything, because then it can unlock in the next level. Because I believe money's neutral in my life now. I've regulated my nervous system around it. I know till the day I die, I'll always be supported by money. I never worry about it coming in or out, and I enjoy it. I use it. It has no power over me anymore. That's like the ultimate, I think, like the nirvana when it comes to this. But when I started out, I had to start with something small. What did I actually believe? And it was crazy what my belief systems were when it came with money, because I would hear my parents arguing about money. I would hear my mother telling me, don't waste your money. So I thought I could waste money. I would be like dumping out, like putting water in the shampoo bottle, swirling it around to get like 5 more washes, squeezing out the toothpaste, buying only things that were on sale. Like if it had a red ticket, it was coming home with me, even though if I didn't need it or not. Like buying things at a regular price was really hard. I found food was, my scarcity would show up with food. So find out where all of your money beliefs are coming in your everyday life. I mean, they'll show up in your business too, or wherever you're making money too, accepting a low paying job, staying in a job only because it's making you feel safe, because the thought of leaving it and going for a new one scares you. Find out where you're being limited. Then you can increase it.
You know what I just did recently is, I was looking around my house and I'm like, I have so much junk.
Sell it.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a trick for you.
Please.
And I have it in the book too. So I always feel like if we have money coming in, even if it's $5, like $10, it makes you feel like I'm making money. And so you're in that energy of it. So the first thing I tell you to do is like, go purge your house. Like literally take all this. This is such a great thing that I did in the past and I keep doing, and I tell everybody to do. So go take all your stuff and like make 4 piles of it. Like stuff you're going to keep, stuff you're going to donate, stuff you're going to sell, and stuff you're going to throw away. And then take the stuff that you want to, sell and list them on places and just make money with them. When I started doing that, I realized I had bought so many things that I never returned to the store that still had tags on them.
Yeah.
Or there's things that that already served their purpose in my life already. And I was done to move on with other people. They needed to move on. I had a garage sale in my house back in, I don't know, it was 2015 or something. And it was after my divorce. I didn't want to go to the basement because my life was down there with my history of my ex and I just ignored it. Because when he moved out, he just took very little things. And so I went and purged everything in the basement, had baby stuff. Like my kids were older. I made $3,000 from that garage sale. And also I got so much new energy in my home because I cleared away the past. And so instead of hoarding things and because out of memory or where I might use them again, I got rid of everything. And that fresh start literally levitated my life in my house in such a way to bring in new wealth. Because if you think about it, if you're holding on to the past, and this talks about relationships, anything thought, whatever, and you want to call in new things, where does it have a chance to go? So the more you purge and you open up space and your emotions and physical things, you allow the new energy to come into your life.
It's so true. I got to tell you a real story. So I was engaged like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. Super traumatic breakup. It was like right before we got married. It took me a really long time to get over it. So as I was going through this exercise in my house of like just like purging stuff, I went into my closet and I have a gorgeous amount of clothes. Like I have tons of options, fantastic, cool, whatever. But as I went in there, I always got depressed going in my closet. Like just straight up like sad face, not good energy. And as I'm looking at my clothes, so many of them I'm like emotionally attached to because I bought them while I was with that person, or they were gifts from that person and I haven't worn them. It brings me pain to look at them or to wear them. But it was also a position I was in where I didn't want to give it up because it was like nostalgic and it was like almost like I didn't want to let go of that memory. But at the same time, nothing about that is serving me. I mean, this is many years later at this point. Like, what am I doing with these clothes? They're out of style. Like, I'm not going to wear them again. They bring me pain. Why am I holding on to them? These are like really great pieces too. So I listed them all for sale. And I'll tell you, it has been cathartic.
Oh, yeah.
Like I have been flushing like these weird emotions that I've just been storing. And, you know, I'm still single at this point. But I feel like, to your very valid point, just in general, the theme of holding on to just like any negative kind of emotion is blocking me having any space for something new to come in. And I feel like it starts, which is that, like letting go of the past. And as I'm letting go of the past, it's like coming back to me in abundance already because I made money from this transaction and I'm getting the fresh new feeling of release.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's all new energy now.
It is new
because
energy.
Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only can be transmuted.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do with it? So I take my old stories of the past. Why do I want to stay stuck and blocked? I couldn't be a millionaire or I could have money. Like I was literally, I was sharing with my team, like Shannon, screenshots of my bank account when it was like literally like $10, less than $10 in it. And I'm like, I would take screenshots of this saying, one day this is not going to be my final destination. So I had to like literally let go of the past that was stopping me from believing that I could have more wealth, you know, and why did I want to live in a toxic cycle anymore? It was not serving me. It was just keeping me comfortable and keeping me in a state of survival. So I'm not doing that anymore. I was like, done. I'm like, whatever it takes for me to break these patterns, to get myself out of my own way, I'm going to do it. But I had to get out of victimness to become self-accountable. So if I could get myself out of it, I was no longer blaming anybody else for why I was in it. So, okay, fine. That happened. I'm going to be accountable for it now. I'm going to take control of my life, because if I can take control of my life, I can take control of my emotions. I can take control of my outcome, and whatever I wanted to create, I became the creator of my reality, not my past, dictating what was going to happen.
Wow. So the fourth thing on our list here, quick recap if you're still with us, is first thing, we're making our vision board. We're being delusional. Number 2, we're doing our checklist and we're prioritizing in that. We're getting a coach. And then the fourth thing is we're letting go of the past. I love this for us. Yeah. I'm going to be like a healed person by the end of this episode. I swear. That is the goal for all of us. Because Lord knows I have some major work to do. So I'm going to follow this exercise. All right. So I want to talk about your book a little bit.
Sure.
I have not had an opportunity to read it yet, since it was so recently that...
it's on its way to you, by the way. You're probably going to get it in your mail today.
Which is perfect timing, because I'm legit going to go do all of these exercises. So tell me a little bit about your book, because what I'm mostly interested in is, I'm sure the book is amazing and great, and I can't wait to hear some stories from it. But I'm actually like really intrigued by your ability to go from, to what you just mentioned to us, bank account is $10, I have all these things I want to go and do. You are literally like a walking manifestation of your own vision and your own Delulu board. You literally did it.
I live it.
So, how did you go from $10 in your bank account, not really sure what you were going to do, to you're a published author, you're a very successful coach, you're on all these podcasts, you're speaking at all kinds of events all over the place, you're flying on private jet places. I mean, you're just like, you're amazing. And like, you're literally a fruition of so many things that people dream about literally and wish that they could do. And frankly, you can. So tell me about that path for you and that journey going from trauma to just being this badass.
I learned to master my emotions. Really, that's the secret. I learned to be the master of my emotions. I wanted to create a life that was so beyond where I was. I couldn't see it though at the time. And, you know, I have people now saying, go bigger, Shamina, go bigger, like in my head, go bigger. And so I did the work every single day. I journaled. Every day I had practice. I meditated and I'm not saying you have to do this, but for me, because I was so stubborn with my thoughts, I was so like just trying to break them. I meditated because could do a lot of talk therapy. I wanted to do it, so I meditated an hour every day. And then after my meditation, I'd go into designing the life of my dreams, journaling every day, writing it down as if I was done. And then I went into gratitude and what would I be grateful for? I practiced this every day. It's been 11 years I've been on this journey.
Wow.
And it was something I practiced to start conditioning myself, because they say what takes 21 days to break a habit. Well, I had four plus decades of me being a certain way that I had to rewire. It wasn't going to be an overnight thing for me. And I never stopped. Even when things got hard, even when the dark night of the soul came, even when things were really struggling, I just kept going. I kept going. And because I knew that there was another way. So trauma, figure it out, what you're doing, find out what's holding you back. Start working on rewiring your mindset and be in places around people that are going to also support you, because this is not an easy thing to do on your own. Communities, groups, wherever you're at. I read a lot. I read like a couple books a week.
Do you have any favorites right now?
Well, if you've never read this book, it's really good. Aside from mine, is A Pocket Full of Money.
No.
It's a great.
I'll hyperlink it down.
Yeah, it's a great book. It talks about wealth consciousness. So what I started seeing was, as I was healing some of the stuff I was going through, I started thinking about the things that I wanted, and they would show up. And so I'm like, wow, this is how easy it is. So because I'm driven by like the check mark and I'm driven by results, I'm like, let me see what else I can bring into my life. So I kept working on the healing. Then I saw that as I was expanding my consciousness, my wealth consciousness could be done with the wealth. So what were my money beliefs, and could I change it there? So as I started shifting, my wealth consciousness started expanding. And then when I realized that, there's a book called Letting Go by Hawkins. I don't know if you've read it, David Hawkins. There's this scale about, this is going to get a little woo-woo on you guys, so just, but if you're not into it, don't worry. Okay. But there's a scale about your your level of consciousness. There's angers on the lower end, and, envy, rage, and whatnot. And the top end, it goes to love, joy, and enlightenment. So
it's like an emotional scale or something?
Well,
okay.
It's a consciousness scale of where we are as we awaken. You're going through an awakening right now.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, and so I did too. And as we awaken, we no longer are in our humanness, which is our 3D life. We're stepping into the consciousness of the 5D and our spiritual souls, what we came here to do, right? The incarnation, however you want to look at life. You have a deep, deep purpose of your existence and who you are. All of you do. We all have meaning and purpose. And I think people forget that about ourselves when we're living in our trauma, So as I was going through this scale and elevating my emotional state, my consciousness expanded. So my energy shifted, my awareness shifted, my understanding of life shifted, and it keeps shifting. And then I saw money just being a piece of paper and an energy we were exchanging for, will you do this for me? I will give this to you. It's just a way of currency. It didn't have any more meaning to it than what I was assigning. And as I worked through my belief systems around money, my consciousness around money shifted. So then I just knew that it was always there. It was like, it was just something that my society and my upbringing told me that I had to believe, but it wasn't true. One of the things is people are told that you have to work hard for money. And I don't believe you do. I believe that you can have as much money as you want. You don't need to work hard for it. It gets to come much easier. If you're making money in a fun state, you're actually going to make way more money than, because if a janitor works really hard, how come he's not a millionaire all the time? It's just it's a poor programming
concept.
Yeah, it's a poor programming that we're raised with about how we exchange ourselves and our worth over how much money we have.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was just going to say, yeah. I think to your very valid point right there, I think I can hear some people saying that are in the scarcity mindset, well, I literally am struggling to put food on the table. What do you mean, don't be worried about where money's going to come from, et cetera. Do you have anything to say to that? Like, if someone's like battling you of like, it's not that simple, like, what would you say? Because obviously you've been there, you've been through this. So
you're right. I would say you're right. You want to believe it? You're right. But do you want to believe something else? I'll show you another way.
I love that.
Because I'm not going to change somebody who wants to keep believing the worst about their situation, because you're committed to it. So you want to be a victim still, then Bravo.
victim.
Keep doing it. I decided not to be.
Amen.
Because it was not going to get me what I want, this life that I created. So I either took control, became self-accountable, did whatever I could. I had no money to buy courses and programs. So I started watching free stuff. I started listening to people online. I got books, because books I could buy at the time. There were small investments. I read. I did whatever it took to change, because you have to transform into this most authentic, evolved version of yourself that knows that this life does not have to be so hard. I was in suffering for decades because that's the only thing I knew. And then because you don't heal your trauma. All it does is just weighs you down like a ton of bricks, and you're just constantly fighting against yourself and the person that you're trying to become. I was so tired of that life. I didn't want to do it anymore. It was exhausting. I was exhausted. My son once drew me a picture of mom. He was in preschool and he brought home like this little thing, and it was stick figures. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, who's this person laying, here? And he goes, Mama, that's you. It was sideways laying down. I said, what's going on here? He goes, oh, because you sleep on the couch.
Oh no.
Because I was so exhausted. That's how my son was seeing me, because I was in survival. I was just, whenever I got a chance, and I was so tired. I was so checked out of my life. I was checked out of everything. I wasn't going to do it anymore.
What a beautiful gift from him, though. I love kids for that, because they're so honest, but it's also like such a gift, because it's a moment for you to like see yourself from a different perspective, where it kind of wakes you up a little bit.
Did.
Like I love those moments in life, and I try to, it's a very new skill for me, because I was definitely living in victim mindset for a long time. It's only recently, no joke, I'm being very honest here. It's part of the reason why I started my show is I'm being selfish, because I'm trying to help myself. I'm trying to change my narrative. Amy is, what is the blank, right? I'm trying to change the whole direction of my life by going through these exercises and having great people and educated people that have gone through this on the show. But I'm now celebrating those moments where things don't work out for me, or where I'm seeing
the gem in it.
Yeah, the juxtaposition, of what I'm going through, because it's like, oh shit, okay, I can change this.
You can.
I need to learn from this moment.
You're in control of the narrative.
Yeah.
Like, it's not rejection, it's redirection.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is something to teach me, give me some value. I'm getting data. Every situation, even if it goes sideways, I'm like, all right, it happened. What am I going to learn from it? What positive I could come from it? I'm telling you, when I started enacting this, it's because I started seeing the world a different way. I started getting free stuff, opportunities. It's still happening today. Or, the hotel we were in, it kind of was, whatever, with some issues. They ended up refunding it, then giving us money on top of it to go enjoy, because I could have complained, been negative about it. But I'm like, all right, how can we move through this? But if you could start doing that, that's where you're shifting from that scarcity into that abundance thinking. I believe we get to be unapologetically rich. Mm-hmm. The word rich would trigger so many people, because they're like, it's so bad, filthy rich. But what if we didn't assign that meaning? To me, rich means rich in health, rich in wealth, rich in lifestyle, rich in happiness. Those are the things that there's fulfillment.
I love that. There's two things there that come to mind. One, so I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn for various reasons, and I saw a post, because there's so many layoffs happening right now in our society. And I saw this post where this woman was complaining, I just got let go from my job, and she's like very miserable in the post. Rightly, I understand, like I get it. In the comment section, somebody was like, congratulations. And they did like a bunch of like celebratory balloons and things like that. And I was like, how interesting. And I like leaned into some more comments and was like reading more. And I'm like, I really love this person that said congratulations. And as they continued in their comment, they were saying, you get to now decide a whole new chapter for yourself.
She wanted that, by the way.
To leave?
She wanted,
and to get fired.
She wanted to get fired because she didn't like her job anymore. And there it came. And it's giving her this like, you're getting a green light to go do something else, a new opportunity, because you weren't going to ever leave that job because you felt like you were stuck there. But getting fired, you got a new ticket. Let's go.
As Esther Hicks would say, I'm not sure if you know who Esther Hicks is, but if you don't know at home, go check her out. She's really, really cool. What did you do to put that there? Like you did it to yourself, right? To get fired and to let go. A lot of people would say, oh, well, I didn't ask to be laid off. I didn't ask to be fired. But here's the thing. You probably did something energetically wise, mentally to put yourself in that position. But what's really cool is now that you got exactly what you wanted, you get to decide what you want to do next. So I looked at it differently from that perspective because I'm so used to assigning blame outward.
Because that's what victims do.
Because that's what a victim does, right?
It's on the outside.
It made me,
everything's on the outside. Yeah, but now that you just got it.
Yeah.
If you got that, everything's gonna shift from you, because then you realize everything's happening for me, not to me.
Yeah. So that's again a new skill set where I looked at that comment and I was like, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
So now when I see someone who's like, oh, something terrible happened to me, I'm like, congrats. Like that's amazing. Like,
well, I don't know about how far you can go with that.
Like, you know, a job change or
like you're late for something, or someone cut you off. I'm like, maybe they're saving you from an accident.
Yeah.
Like maybe you can start looking things as
I'm
like
right where I'm supposed to be.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Like I run late for everything. It's like one of the things I'm in spiritual time, and I'm like, I feel like it's just because I'm present all the time, or it's bringing me to be intentional about how I'm creating my life instead of being so scheduled out like I used to be.
It's like those stories, and I know this is a little controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's so true. 9/11, when the towers fell, there's so many stories that have come out of that where people are like, I was supposed to be at the office, but the subway was late that day. And the subway's always on time in this particular route, but like that day it just happened to be late. And I didn't end up being at work on time, and they're alive. Like there's all these little stories, like just be where you're supposed to be, enjoy the moment, enjoy the presence, and like, try not to assign so much negativity around things that maybe it doesn't seem for a moment like it's where you want to be or what you wanted in the scenario, but give it a year.
Or less.
You're going to look back and you're going to be like, oh man, that really worked out for me.
And hence the bank account.
Yeah.
I could have looked at it and been like, well, this is terrible. But I screenshot it and said, this is not my final destination, because I knew whatever reality I'd already created was done. So what did I want to do next? That's all I had control over, is what was the next narrative, because this one was done.
Wow. Well, I would love to help people find you. Where can people find you?
Okay. First of all, thank you so much.
Oh
I would want you guys to go listen to Unapologetically Rich. This podcast is amazing. Men and women can go listen to it. It's going to help expand the way you think about money, but yourself, or where the hidden scarcity mindset could be, or how can you see beyond where you are right now. Also, we talk a lot about healing, and there's a lot there. Go watch my YouTube. We just started on YouTube, and the videos are doing so well. Go grab my book, Unlocking the Quantum Woman. Men read this book too, so don't think that it's just for women. And come find me on Instagram at Shamina Taylor. We have a group that's called the Quantum Woman Group on Facebook, so that is kind of for just women. But what else? That's
I'm joining the group.
Yeah,
I'm like, I gotta get in on this community.
And just if you could do one thing for me, is just go bigger with what you're dreaming, and don't feel like today this is the only way it can be done, because I am living proof that I've moved through my trauma and I've created a new life. I want you to at least see that if she can, maybe I can too.
Amazing. All right. And I've got one last question I'm going to ask you. I ask every guest this every episode. If somebody's in crisis, I'm talking like level 10 crisis, they don't know if they're going to see tomorrow. What is one piece of advice you would give them that's actionable for them in the moment to help snap themselves out of that line of thinking?
Get up and go. Move. Don't stay where you are right now, because if you keep staying there, you're going to keep repeating what you're thinking. So get up and go move, call somebody. But you need to get out of the environment that you're in. You need to break the pattern of what you're in right now. So get up and just start walking, start moving, start doing something. Snap yourself out of it for a second. Like just say, okay, right, I know I'm sad right now. Okay, let me just quit. Let me go do something else. Like have something where you're going to break the pattern, because we can break the pattern. You can stop going down and spiraling down where you are. I had to do that. I had to get to the place where I was, because we could sit and be sad all the time, and the sadness will always be there for us, like a very best friend. But sometimes I had to like snap myself out of it. Like, don't need to be here right now. So I would have a system where I would be like, okay, time to go take a walk, time to go to the gym, like time, because the gym was my regulator. Like I made sure every day I got there so I could ground my body and my energy. Mm-hmm. So find the thing that's gonna, when you know you're getting into your sad moment, have that be your backup plan, because you know you're going there. Maybe it's even taking a shower because it's gonna wash away some of the emotions, but have something to stop, break, and go. I don't know if that's helpful. But
oh my gosh, that's so helpful. And it's so true. I'm gonna steal from Esther Hicks again. If you don't like what's on TV, change the channel.
That's it.
Like just
break the pattern.
Channel, break the pattern. I love that. That's such a great piece of advice. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And thank you for sharing all these hot tips. And I love my little checklist I've got here of things I can try to snap me back into some awesomeness and get myself right. I really appreciate you. I know our guests are going to appreciate your stuff too. I can't wait to go and read your book later. And thank you so much. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.